Tell me if you can relate to this. You start learning the guitar with lots of enthusiasm, get your basic chords down, learn some songs from a tab website, maybe a little Green Day, a little Leonard Skinner, whatever the case may be, and things are going pretty well. Fast forward another year, maybe your progress slowed down a little bit, but you've taken on some more difficult projects, some solos or licks, trickier riffs. Now this phase could continue indefinitely. For many it often does, but sooner or later you will come to this realization. You have no f***ing idea how this thing works. Let's dive in.
Atticus Kelly Music.
Welcome everybody, I hope you're ready to shreddy because today we're going to talk about how to get started learning the notes on the neck. You've probably heard the jokes, seen the memes, how do you get a guitarist to stop playing, put some music in front of him, but it's not our fault. Other instrumentalists like pianists and horn players start young and often read music from the very first lesson. Horn players tend to learn to read in an ensemble setting. Meanwhile, we are stuck with free tabs from ultimateguitar.com and whatever scraps of knowledge we can cobble together from the internet. If you clicked on this video, chances are it's because you want to learn this, but in case you're wondering why it's important, let's discuss. I want you to imagine a world where nothing has a name. So for instance, instead of a chair, you would have to say something like, the thing that's made of wood, it has 4 legs, you sit on it. This is what communicating with other musicians is like when you don't know the notes. It's really tedious to explain a chord progression where you don't know the names. If you don't understand the layout of the neck, you'll never really understand how things fit together, because everything you learn will be an isolated island of knowledge, each one completely separated from the other. You may pick up on some patterns here and there, but you won't be able to explain why or make any conclusions about what you're learning. Being able to make these kinds of connections is a shortcut to getting good fast, so if you're not doing it, it's going to take forever. If you're interested in getting much deeper into this topic with exercises, worksheets, and a 30-day practice plan, I've prepared a free course called Fretboard Freedom. The link is in the description. Back to the video. Here is the first thing you need to know: the musical alphabet. I'm sure by now you've realized that we use the alphabet in some way when we learn music. That's why we have A chords, B chords, and C chords. We're going to organize this idea a little bit. The musical alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then after you get to G, it just continues, kind of loops back to A, an octave up. And then the sequence repeats. Easy peasy. Here is the second thing you need to know. We need to understand the idea of an interval. Intervals are how we measure distance in music. There's a bunch of them, but with today we only need to learn one. It's going to be the half step. A half step is the distance from one fret to another. For instance, this first fret to this second fret, or from an open string to the first fret, like this open E string to the first fret. If we were to keep going up in half steps, like this, just one fret at a time, we would be playing something called the chromatic scale. Couldn't be easier to play, you just move your finger to the right one fret at a time. So basically, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to take the musical alphabet and fill in the gaps going up with sharps and going down with flats. Here's what I mean by gaps. Some notes are natural half steps, which means they are one fret apart and one half step apart. E to F and B to C are the natural half steps. So that means if we have an E, like this low E, and go to the first fret, one half step away, we will go straight from E to F. This goes for any E, anywhere on the neck. So here, here, anywhere you have an E, you have an F one fret away. Same thing for B and C. Anywhere you have a B, you have a C one fret away. Those are the natural half steps. This is going to make more sense in a moment. Here's what you need to remember. Except for E and B, every note will have a sharp. I go into much more detail on this in my course, but that should be enough info for now. So let's go up from E, and we know that E to F is a natural half step. So we'll go E, F to the first fret. Now think carefully. If every note has a sharp except for E and B, then the next one, then F has a sharp, right? That means the next note is F sharp. Then all we need to do is continue up in half steps. Think about that rule. E and B are the only ones that don't have a sharp. So F sharp would go to G. G does not fall under our rule, so we'd have a sharp on that. A, likewise. So A to A sharp on the 6th fret here. And then we would get to B. All right, think about our rule. And when you're starting out learning this, you want to be thinking about these rules constantly. So after this B, we would not go B sharp, because according to the rule, E and B has no sharp. That means we would go to the next alphabet letter, which would be A, C. So now I want you to pause the video and try to work out that scale from the open to the 12th fret. You should end up on an E. Let's check your answers. Since we already did up to B, we're going to start there. So B, C, C sharp, because we use sharps going up, D, D sharp, and then E. Going back is a different story because we need to use flats. Flats are the opposite of sharps. They take us down one fret or down one half step. C and F have no flat. So if you memorize the notes that don't have sharps and the notes that don't have flats, this will be very, very easy for you. So I would recommend writing these down, maybe reviewing them throughout the day without the guitar in your hands, just doing whatever you can to get these relationships really into your brain. The pair of notes that will have no flat will be F and C. So if we're going back from the 12th fret, remember flats take us down. We're going to go E. Think about our rule. Okay, well, E has no sharp, but it does have a flat. So E, E flat, and then D. What's one flat below that? Think about our rule. F and C has no flat. All right, so that means D will have a flat. And then we come to our first C right here. By this point, we probably are pretty familiar with the rules. So now from there, why don't you pause the video? Just try to work out getting from B to the open. Let's check your answers. So we have B, B flat, A on the 5th fret, A flat, G, G flat, F. Think about our rule. F and C has no flat, and that means we have E, not F flat. I'm sure you can see by now that the pattern is not actually all that difficult to learn, and once you learn one string, you can easily apply it to the others. It would also be easy to continue mapping things out using octave shapes. So here's your next step. After you learn the E string, then it's time to move on to the A. The reason it's so important to learn these two strings first is because the other strings are only one alphabet letter from the E and the A. What I mean by that is the D string is only one alphabet letter below E. So that means if you've mastered the E string, then transferring your knowledge to the D will not be very difficult, right? So you'd have E, F, you'd have another E right here. And it'd be very easy to take what you've mastered and transfer it up to the D. Same thing goes for the G string after you've mastered the A, because G is only one alphabet letter below. Everything's going to be pretty close to where it is on the A string. Not exact, but pretty close. So in addition to transferring what you've mastered from the E and A string, you can use octave shapes to map out the neck. You have two octave shapes, one for the E string and for the A string, and one for the G string and for the D string. I go into much more detail on this in my course. An octave is the interval formed when we take a note and add the next highest pitch of that note. The shape looks like this on the E and A string. So we have the pointer finger, we'll say on the 5th fret for now, skip the string in the middle, and you have your ring finger or pinky finger 2 frets over. I'll use my pinky finger. 5th fret, skip the string in the middle, and you're 2 frets over with 1 string in between. Right, so that means you'll be on 5 on the A string, 7 on the D string. That shape is the same on the A string. So we'll have the 5th fret A string, which is a D. We'll skip the string in the middle and put our pointer and put our pinky or our ring finger on the 7th fret. So it's 1 string in between and 1 fret in between. You can also see it in the diagram on the screen. Now, for the shapes on the D and the G string, they're very similar. We have to move that pinky finger over 1 fret. So it's 1 string in between and 2 frets in between. So in this case, the octave shape on the D string would be the 5th fret, and then the 8th fret B string. And then the last one, it's the exact same shape, except it starts on the G string. And then the pinky, 1 string between and 2 strings over. Here's how to use these to map out the neck. You can play an octave shape on the E string 5th fret, for instance, and then play your octave shape. So it's going to be 1 string in between and 1 fret over, so 5 to 7, 5th fret E string, 7th fret D string, and you can carefully switch the pointer finger with the pinky finger. What I mean by that is I don't mean to twist your hand around. I mean to take your pointer and put it on the 7th fret and now play your D string octave shape. Right? Let's do that one more time. So we start here on the E string octave shape. Put our pointer finger where your pinky currently is. So switch those really carefully, this one and this one. And now you found another A. So this is an A, this is an A, and so on. And you can do the same thing on the A string. So maybe 2nd fret. There are a lot of different ways to approach learning the fretboard. The important thing is, like with any other skill, that you spend a little bit of time on it daily. If it's truly a priority to learn this, try to engage with the information a few times a day. You don't even need to have a guitar in your hand. You could write out the order of the notes in the chromatic scale on a piece of paper, sharps going up, flats going down. Or if you're out on a walk, for instance, or working out, you could review the notes in your head or out loud, however you want. Being proactive about your learning and finding opportunities in your day to review this and reinforce this information will pay dividends. If you found this video helpful, please smush that like button and consider subscribing to support my channel, liking this video, etc. Take care and be good to yourself. See you next time.